Hello and good morning. Welcome to Ask the Expert, which I'm sure, as you already know, is a daily series which runs from 8:30 to 9 o'clock every day to help small businesses. You can ask any questions in the comments section, or you can use the hashtag QBate on Twitter, which is QBATE. And if you need any more advice, you can join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. There'll be accountants and business experts will be on hand 24/7 to give you advice and answer your questions. During the live session today, we're going to be running a poll, so please do get involved, get engaged with it, and I will be revealing the results at the end. So, who am I? I'm Andrew Bloch, and before we get into the questions, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on my story, what I've been up to, and store up those questions, submit them, and then we'll get onto those as soon as possible. I am the founder and non-executive director of an agency called Franks, one of the leading creative communications agencies in the UK. I stepped back from that business about 4 or 5 months ago, and now I'm a consultant in the marketing services industry, involved as an advisor to a number of businesses. I thought what I would do is just start off, tell you a little bit about how I got started, some of the sort of highlights, lowlights, and what I'm up to now. So I started my career 25 years ago at an agency called Lynn Franks. It was the agency that is probably most famous for Absolutely Fabulous, the TV show, which was based on Lynn, and it was a pretty crazy place to work. I stayed there for a couple of years. It got acquired by a big global agency called Ketchum, where I went on to become the sport and entertainment director, looking after some sort of pretty big clients in the world of sport and entertainment, England football team, the BAFTAs, British Film Awards, things like that. And then after 5 years, the former managing director, a guy called Graham Goodkind of Lynn Franks, approached me with the idea of setting up our own PR agency. At the time, I didn't feel particularly ready for it. I liked the idea, but I think, like most people, sort of always feels they need to do the next thing before they're ready to get started and do something on their own. But he convinced me that I would never feel ready, and now is as good a time as ever. So we started Frank, and we didn't have any clients, didn't have any staff, and we sort of phoned around friends and family, begged them to give us a chance. And an old mate of mine from school had a teddy bear mail order company, and Graham's brother-in-law ran a company called Shop Fittings Direct. And that was kind of how we started, pretty humbly. About a few months in, we got a phone call from Amstrad, which was Lord Sugar's company, Sir Alan, as he was at the time, to pitch for the launch of a new product. And we lost that pitch, which was a bit gutting at the time, but we didn't take no for an answer, and we phoned them up, begged them for the chance to work with them, and I think they felt sorry for us, really, and they awarded us the business. And that was actually the start of my relationship with Lord Sugar, and a relationship that's carried on for 20 years. So now I advise him on all his personal affairs, look after all his business interests. And interestingly, for the last 7 years or so, since The Apprentice changed its format, I look after all of the winners of The Apprentice and handle their sort of startup of their businesses, getting them up and running, helping with them with the transition from being TV personalities into credible business people. And that's really interesting. And every year you kind of never know who you're going to get and what it's going to involve. And the Frank journey is, for me, was super exciting. You know, we grew the agency to having offices around the world, doing some amazing campaigns, and never really stood still for a second, actually. I mean, when I look back on my time there was never one moment when I was ever bored or felt like I could do it with my eyes closed. There was always challenges. It was always a roller coaster of ups and downs. And the ethos of the agency was built around this word called talkability, which we defined as the buzz that takes over and does your best marketing for you. And we believe don't just do PR for the sake of doing PR. Everything you do should make people sit up, take notice, and engage, and ultimately have an action, whether that is buying a product, changing your opinion, changing perceptions. So some of the campaigns we've done, I mean, there's kind of way too many to mention, but some, pretty well-known campaigns. We made Alexander the Meerkat famous, the toy that you now get with your insurance policies came from our concept, and we launched that. We launched Call of Duty for several years, biggest entertainment launch in the world. Did some pretty crazy sort of stunts and ideas for Doritos. We created the world's first advert that was beamed into space, had the biggest audience ever because it had an intergalactic audience. For Burger King more recently, we did the Meltdown campaign, which was all about reducing plastic waste, and instead of getting your little sort of toys with your meal, those toys would be reproduced and into something more useful, whether that was the trays that you get your meal on, or play centres in the back of Burger Kings. So anyway, that was the Frank journey. It was great. And 20 years in, I felt the time was right to go on to the next stage of my career. Didn't really have a plan, thought I would just step back, and I'm still involved with Frank as a non-exec. But I'd see what happened, see what happened, see who got in touch. And the phone sort of started to ring, and 4 months in, I think my sort of new stage of my career loosely falls into three different areas. So the first part is acting as a board advisor for various different companies. So there is a company called Propel, which is a PR software tool that helps you analyze media and the results that are generating out of your PR campaigns. A brilliant company called Phoenix 51, which is a recruitment platform that helps you hire and assess and retain the best talent. And then I've got involved with a company called PCB Partners, which is a mergers and acquisitions company, and I'm helping them find the best marketing services industries out there to buy and to sell. The next sort of chunk of what I'm doing is really around consultancy and helping brands make sense of the confusing world of agencies and find out who are the best partners for them to work with and bring their campaigns to life. I'm helping agencies get fit and win business, to grow, to enhance their offering, to differentiate themselves. And then also working with talent and helping celebrities link with brands to do great campaigns. And then the final part of what I'm doing was really about giving something back and helping others. So I've got involved with the Prince's Trust, which is an incredible organisation, and I sit on their business launch group, and I help them decide which young people's businesses should be invested in and how we can help them and develop them as young fledgling entrepreneurs. I've got involved with a record label called Big Community Records, which is set up by the COO of Google, a guy called Craig Fenton, and it's about helping young Black people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds get a break in the music industry in a way that they probably wouldn't be able to if they weren't given this assistance. And it's been brilliant fun to do that. And then, when I've got a bit of spare time, I try and spend time with my kids, get work-life balance, work to my own terms. And that's probably the bit that I've found the hardest, because there's never a shortage of things to do and things to get involved with. So that is my kind of whirlwind journey of 25 years in PR. And what I want to do now is hopefully answer some of your questions, and please feel free to ask me anything, and I'll do my best to answer openly, honestly, and with no BS. So, okay, The first question is come through from Lucas on Facebook Messenger. And it says, "Hi Andrew, as the owner of my own company, I've decided I wanted to raise my own profile. What's your advice on things I can do to myself to raise my profile?" It's a good question, Lucas. So personal branding is a big growth area in marketing. And I think, with the advent of social media, we now have channels where we can promote ourselves. The first thing I'd say is just because those channels are there, don't feel that gives you an excuse to tell people about every single thing, about every waking moment of your life. But what you can do is start to build your profile with a relevant audience. So for me personally, in business, the two main channels that I use are Twitter, which is a great way to update people on what you're doing, but also to connect with people that you want to connect with. So start following people that you want to get in front of, businesses that are aligned to your company and what you're doing. The same goes on LinkedIn, really, and try and add value. No one wants to see an ongoing advert about what Lucas is doing. Lucas is doing this, Lucas is doing that. Try and add some insight, build knowledge amongst people. There are people you can employ to help you do this. For me, it comes pretty naturally. I think every good PR person knows how to PR themselves. I appreciate it. For others, it's not so sort of common sense. I guess there's a guy called Joe Binder who runs a company called Wow, who is a personal branding guru and looks after lots and lots of high-profile business people. Worth checking him out and what he does, and sometimes it's better to sort of get someone to help you do it if you feel it's going to be too detracting from what you're doing as a day-to-day job. Next question, Hannah from Facebook Messenger. Good morning. What's your best DIY advice to generate PR for a new company that's not launched yet without a budget to hire an expert? Should we get the hype up before launching or wait until we've launched? It's a really, really good question. It's actually a question that I get asked the whole time by clients, not just startups, but also big brands that are launching things. My personal belief is there is no point doing any PR or any marketing if there isn't a call to action. So if people cannot buy your product, don't waste too much energy on marketing until you're ready to get to the point when they can. It's fine to build up a bit of anticipation, let people know something's coming. Some brands use it to their advantage to build the hype, and they'll even sort of take pre-orders, pre-bookings. But in terms of your marketing budget and your energy, get everything ready for when they can click a button or pick up a phone and buy something. That's the time to put the most energy into what you're doing. Fiona from Instagram DM. Good morning. I wanted to ask if it's possible to create a PR campaign on a small budget. Good question, Fiona. And yes, of course it is. I mean, the great thing about PR as a discipline is it's extremely cost effective. And actually what it's all about is having great ideas. So going back to the principle of talkability, have a think about what it is you want to say, what's going to grab people's interest. Sure, you do need a PR agency or an expert to really sort of understand the media and the best channels to get you out there. But this isn't rocket science, this industry. You can use your common sense. And again, social media is a great sort of democratizer in terms of giving people the ability to get out there and reach an audience at no or low cost. So, the best ideas are just great ideas. They don't require huge amounts of budget necessarily. They just need to be something that's going to get people to sit up and take notice. And it's not difficult to reach big audiences, or certainly relevant audiences if you're clever in your messaging and you find something different. I think don't fall into the trap of thinking that people are interested in something just because you are, and try and take a step back. So I'm going to just try and sit back. I can see a big load of sunlight on my screen, which is annoying me and probably annoying you. I think that's a bit better. Yeah, don't fall into the trap of thinking everyone's really interested in every single aspect of something you've got to say. Try and figure out what it is that makes you different, what's your unique selling point, what's the bit that's going to hit home, and then focus on that and how you're going to get that message across. So I hope that answers your question. Where are we? Richard from Facebook Live. Andrew, I've heard about your CERT launch this week. How did it go? I'm pleased you've heard about it. So CERT is a cleaning brand. Sorry, start again. CERT is a cleaning brand. It is the first product that you can use in your household, and it is guaranteed to kill COVID-19 virus within 60 seconds. So I worked as part of a marketing consortium to take this concept and this product from scratch, and we developed the packaging, the branding, the website, every single aspect of this product from scratch. It's developed by a company called Hydrochem, who are one of the biggest providers to the NHS, people like the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and they realized that this hospital grade hygiene that they were producing could be made into a household product, and they've never done that before, so they turned to us to basically take a product, create a brand, and get it to market. Amazing, really, actually. It launched on Wednesday. It's a real testament to the power of PR, but the product was covered on Sky News and multiple national news outlets, as well as sort of a big broadcast campaign that we created. And I won't sort of reveal the exact sales figures and numbers, but on the day of launch, it did 5 weeks worth of anticipated sales and completely blew everyone's mind. And it's, for me, it's a real buzz. You know, it's great to do good PR campaigns, but when you see that immediate reaction, that you created messaging around a product that clearly resonates, and you see this instant demand, it's hugely satisfying. So if you want to clean your homes, go to certcleaning.com. There's my plug. Okay, Frederick from Instagram. What qualifies as a good marketing partner in your opinion? Well, Frederick, you know, the key thing is that word partner. It is someone that treats you as a partner and not as, you know, having a sort of supplier buyer relationship. When you work well with an agency, it's where you have trust, it's where you listen to their advice. A good agency, a good marketer will push back on a brief. They won't just accept exactly what they're asked to do, they'll challenge it. And really, when I look back at the Frank campaigns that we've been responsible for over the years, actually, a lot of the credit comes down to great clients because they've trusted us. We've taken their brief and in some instances ripped it up and said, you know, that is a waste of time. It's not going to make any difference. You're wasting your money. And a good client will listen and trust you. And of course, you've got to build and earn that trust. But it's about finding someone you like as well. You know, you deal with your agencies day in, day out, and you don't want to be on the phone with someone you don't like. So try and find people that are like-minded and there's a connection. And I'm not saying you have to be best mates with them, but it's always beneficial if you've got people you like and you think you can get along with on a day-to-day basis. Mehdi from Twitter DM. Hi, my company sits on a lot of data from our users. Do you know what the restrictions are for using customer data for PR? Blimey, that is a question for 8:49 in the morning. I mean, there are GDPR is a minefield. I ask someone else if I'm in doubt, is the truth. I don't really, you know the ins and outs of it. I mean, data is extremely useful in PR. And if I go back to that CERT cleaning campaign I just mentioned, you know, what we've been able to see is data in terms of where people are coming to the website, which bits of media were the bits that drove the biggest response, what parts of the country are people ordering from, what's the age profile of the people that are ordering. And that, using that kind of data is fine. You know, what we'll do from that is build the next stage of the campaign. If we can see there's huge spikes in Newcastle, we'll build a media campaign in that area. If we can see that the main buyer is females 25 to 34, we'll use that data. If we can see that the Daily Mirror is the biggest referrer of traffic to the website, we'll go back and build another campaign with the Mirror. So using data in that sort of way, there's no problems with that. It's where you're using the data publicly, where you're taking people's personal information and abusing it. But I don't want to give you advice on something that honestly I'm not an expert in. Use your common sense, and if in doubt, ask someone who knows. Tahiru from Facebook Live: why is the environment out there not friendly to new businesses? Look, I don't know what you mean by that, really. I think opportunity is everywhere, and launching a new business, sure, it's tough, but if you've got a great idea, great concept, great business, I don't believe that the environment is tough. I think, nowadays, with the evolution of the internet and the ability to sell directly to consumers, it's completely democratized the ability for startups to take on big, massive brands. The business that I'm involved with, Propel, which is the PR database and media intelligence tool, they have entered a market which is dominated by a giant, and this giant sold last year for 2.4 billion. But because of advances in technology and some really, really smart people, they've been able to build a product that can compete against them. And actually, one of my favorite styles of marketing is challenger brand marketing, where you can look at the big giants in an industry, look at their weaknesses, look at their challenges in terms of how hard it is for them to move quickly, and you pick holes and you find their weaknesses, and then you use that to your benefit. So for me, there's never been a better time to launch a new business, and even in this unprecedented era, there are still opportunities out there. And in the PR world, I've seen dozens of new agencies launch in the last few months, and that's hugely exciting because the barriers to entry are low. They've seen opportunities, they can move quickly, they can take advantage of the fact that big agencies are hampered a little bit by staff restrictions, client restrictions, and I've already seen some great success stories. So sorry that you feel the environment isn't friendly. I would disagree. Ian from Facebook Live: how can PR help launch direct-to-consumer brands? I mean, I think probably that example I've just given you, I don't want to keep banging on about cert cleaning because it makes me sound like a household goods salesman. But actually on the day of launch, PR was the only thing that was live on launch day. There will be an entire digital marketing campaign that will kick in. So PR directly drove traffic to the website. And what the PR does that other forms of marketing can't necessarily do as easily is build credibility, get across independent endorsement. And in this example, where you have a product that is, talking about killing COVID, there's a lot of cynicism, a lot of skepticism. People want to know that this is the real deal, that it works, it isn't some sort of get-rich-quick scheme. And the media, by providing them with the scientific evidence that this does work, and haven't just made it up, they can then portray that to their readers, to their listeners, and it gets across a message in a more credible way than advertising ever can, because everyone knows that advertising is paid for. So within the sort of parameters of ASA guidelines, you can kind of say what you want, whereas with PR, journalist and expert and authority has vetted your message, and that holds a hell of a lot of weight and power. Okay, Andre from Facebook Messenger: hi Andrew, what an incredible journey you've had with Frank. My team is expanding, which is super exciting, and I'm making some new hires soon. what were the most important personality traits you were looking for in the early days for Frank when hiring people? A brilliant question, and thank you. Yeah, and I have had an incredible journey, and I'm very fortunate to have found myself on it. I think everyone has different attitudes to recruitment. I personally have always been someone that hires on gut feel. For me, attitude is everything. I don't care about your age. I don't care if you've got a first from Cambridge in whatever you might have a first in. If you have a hunger and a desire to succeed and a passion, in my industry, it's about an energy for ideas and media. That's what I will look for every time. Not necessarily the right answer. And interestingly, one of the businesses I've been involved in that I mentioned earlier, Phoenix 51, what they are is it's a digital platform that helps you recruit and assess, and it uses competency-based assessment. And what I've now learned is that my approach to hiring, you're probably only going to get it right at best 50-50. If you use a tool like this, what it does is it takes out unconscious bias. It helps you assess against other candidates. It helps you share that data. And also it helps you, once you've got the person on board, build their career and help them move along in a way that potentially you wouldn't be able to do without that technology. And that's taught me a lot. It's a different style of hiring, and it's completely correct way to do it. So in my mind, never let the computers take over. You know, gut feel is very, very powerful, but combine that with some sort of competency-based assessment, so you're putting some rigidity into your hiring process. But those early hires are really, really important. So take your time, get it right, and go with your gut and a little bit of science. Check out phoenix51.io. Jaden from Facebook Messenger, do you have any advice on how to write a powerful press message? My advice would be keep it simple. Figure out what you want to say and who your audience is. Powerful headline. Remember, media receive tens of thousands of press releases. Get your message in early on so that they don't have to read the whole thing. Your first paragraph should summarize everything you want to say. Prioritize it in order of importance, and then target that press release to the right people. That would be my advice. We have run out of time, and that is the last question. I tried to get through as many as I can. So thank you. Some really, really good questions. I'm sure you want to hear the poll results. I know that I do. 50% of you said yes, and 50% of you said no, in terms of would you use PR to help build the profile of your business. I'm not sure what that says about my last half an hour. I would have liked to have thought I could convince more of you to have said yes. Look, PR is a really powerful tool, especially when combined with other marketing disciplines. Don't be scared of it. It's pretty easy to use effectively. So for the 50% of you that said yes, thank you for believing in PR. For the 50% of you that voted no, I'm sorry that I haven't persuaded you that it's an effective tool. But pretty even split. So that pretty much wraps up my time here today, and it's flown, and I've really enjoyed it. I hope that you have too, and I hope that I managed to answer some of your questions in an informative way. If you have got any more questions, please get in touch with the QuickBooks support team if it's something related to QuickBooks. If it's something connected to me, you can reach me on any form of social media, really. LinkedIn or Twitter. My Twitter handle is Andrew Bloch. Coming up on Ask the Expert on Monday is Johan Gori, and he's the managing director of JGBC, and they specialize in supporting small businesses as they start their business and undertake their journey utilizing cloud software to give them live data to steer their business with. So that should be really interesting in terms of getting a grip on how you can use data as a way of building your business. And Johan is a brilliant MD and a great speaker. I'm sure you'll really enjoy it. A reminder that if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. So thank you again. I really enjoyed answering all the questions this morning. Hope you have a really, really productive day. And I hope to see you all again soon. So thank you very much.